Katherine Klimitas. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, I appreciate being here.
Excellent, excellent. Let me give the audience a brief introduction for you,
Hmm.
just so that they get a feel for who you are and a little bit more about you. You're a multidisciplinary creative and advocate, New Orleans based artist, keynote speaker, author, and graphic designer living with osteogenesis imperfecta, which is brittle bone disease. You're a watercolor animal artist. You make intricate, soul capturing watercolor portraits of animals, often completed while lying on your side due to physical limitations. You sell originals and prints through your online channels, in home art parties, galleries, and licensing opportunities across the Gulf South. Art has been a lifelong passion for you. You sold your first watercolor painting at the age of 10. You went on to earn a Bachelor of Arts degree in graphic design from Loyola University in New Orleans, summa cum laude. Later, building your own business, KAK Art and Designs. You exemplify resilience and creative adaptation. Rather than letting your disability define your path, you've transformed challenges into motivation, developing a unique creative process, speaking openly about turning adversity into artistic and personal strength. You're an inclusive education advocate, having attended mainstream schools with inclusive support. You earned honors and attributed much of your growth and advocacy to those formative experiences, now weaving that message into your art, storytelling, and your public speaking. That
That sounds about right.
that is a tremendous amount of uh, work and resiliency over your lifetime.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Um, so, like I said, there's not a whole lot of structure to it, and a really only structured question is always the first one. And
Okay.
I'm going to kind of adapt that just a little bit based off of the intro that I gave you. But it usually starts off, where were you born and what was life like as a kid? But let's let's adapt that into, how was your early life? What did that look like for you?
What did that look like? Well, um, I was born in Philadelphia, which is not something I share often.
Okay.
But I was born in Philadelphia, but we moved down to New Orleans when I was like 8 months old. So, I
Okay.
mean, technically, I was born in the North, but
Yeah,
I mean, I was raised in the South, so
for sure.
and my mom's whole family is from the South, so
Okay.
you know, I feel like I was born here. Um, Life was different for me as a kid. It I have some major limitations physically, right? But mentally, I don't, and so it was always so I don't know, for those of you listening, like in New Orleans and in South Louisiana, people in wheelchairs, kids in wheelchairs in the public system, um, they often want to put them in like a special ed
Yeah.
school. Okay. And the problem with that is that many of those special ed schools are geared toward people with mental disabilities as
Gotcha.
well as physical ones. And so I don't have a mental disability, at
Right.
least not most days. And so that would have been terrible for me because I
Yeah.
would have been bored to death. I mean, the whole reason mom wanted to send me to school when I was like 2 is because I was driving her nuts because I was
Okay.
bored, you know?
Yeah.
And so and so they sent me, at least from my like kindergarten to 8th grade. I went to a private school, a small private Episcopal school, that was very close to our house.
Okay.
And it was great because it was very family oriented. So there
Yeah.
were only in the whole school, there were like, I don't know, between 200 and 250 kids
Yeah.
total. And
Yeah.
so everybody kind of knew everybody, even if you were in a different grade. you knew all the teachers, and everybody kind of looked out for everybody. And
Right.
so even though there were, because I was the only person in a wheelchair in
Okay.
the whole time I was there. And so even though, I couldn't necessarily go play soccer or go play softball or whatever, and the things my friends were doing,
Yeah.
we adapted it, like there were other things I could do. And like during recess, I couldn't be outside because there were balls flying all over, right? Which was
Right.
very dangerous for me.
Yeah.
But, my friends, it was special when they got to stay inside with me, during
Right.
recess. Like
Sure.
we adapted things so that it worked. Um, and of course, there were times where I couldn't be involved, and that always sucks. I mean, that's just as a kid,
Sure.
right? You want to
Yeah.
just fit in. And so that was always frustrating. But one of the things my mom did was she constantly tried to find things I could do
Okay.
when those times came up, right? And
Yeah.
so she gave me my first watercolor set when I was 5. And it was just cheap, one of those piece of crap, things you'd
Yeah.
buy a 5-year-old, right?
Yeah.
And I like just blew through it in like a week, and I liked it. And mom was like, "Oh, she's actually kind of okay at this, even as a 5-year-old." And
Right.
so she got me into, I mean, I was getting art in school, but she got me into more art outside of school and summer camps and things like that. And so by the time I was, 13, 14, I had already gotten to do watercolor and acrylic and oil and some woodworking and print making and even some glass blowing. I mean, I got to
Oh,
do all kinds of things.
wow.
When I say I got to do some glass blowing, some other guy mostly said, "Okay, blow here," and then that
Yeah.
was about it, right? I mean,
You
you
got
don't let a child do that. Um,
right.
but still, it was fun, and I had to come up with the concept for the project.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, so that kind of became my thing. None of my friends were doing it. I grew up with parents who were veterinarians, and
Okay.
so I would get stuck going to work with them on Saturdays when I wasn't in school. And I would get bored. And so I would bring my paints or whatever and sit in the waiting room and just draw people's pets just
Yeah.
because I felt like it, just because, something to
Yep.
do, right?
Yeah.
And lo and behold, people started paying me to do it. Like it was amazing.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and so, I mean, I didn't ask for money. It just
Yeah.
started happening, right? And it was, $5 here, $10 here, but in the 90s for a 10-year-old,
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. And so as time went on and I got better, like I slowly morphed that into a business. So
Okay.
I still do a lot of pet portraits today. They're much better than they were when I was 10. Um, but I do a lot of pet portraits. I do a lot of other animal wildlife paintings, and um, I chose, instead of majoring in fine art in school, I chose to major in graphic design
Yeah.
because there's a reason they call them starving artists.
Right.
And yeah, and you know, when you have a disability, you have expenses. I mean,
Right.
people with disabilities know, like I just got a $2,000 wheelchair bill this morning. Okay,
Okay.
that's an out of pocket bill.
Right.
Okay, so like things come up, and you have to have a way to pay for them. And so I knew, when you talk to a professional artist, even a very successful one, they'll tell you for every 10 paintings I do, I might sell one.
Right.
And my physical limitation, like I could not put out that much work
Sure.
physically. There's
Yep.
no way to even begin to make a living. And so I said, well, that's not going to work. So I decided to major in graphic design, and my rationalization was, well, it's still kind of artsy, it's still in the creative realm with a business twist.
Yeah.
and it could help me in my art, which it has. So that's kind of what I do. I split today, I split my time between my design clients and my regular art stuff.
Cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Did you have outside of your parents, did was there anybody else in the family that was artistic and creative?
No, I mean, I had encouragement from a lot of my family.
Yeah.
And my family, I actually have a family of doctors.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
my parents were veterinarians. My grandfather's an MD. My aunt is a psychotherapist. I have another aunt that's a microbiologist. I have another aunt that was an occupational therapist. I mean, like everybody's kind of
Oh wow.
medical. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Even my cousins, like one went into the police academy. The others are nurses. I mean, it's
Right.
just everybody's kind of in the medical field.
Right.
And so like my grandmother did not work but was very creative. I mean,
Okay.
she was a really good problem solver.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I mean, my mom tells this story all the time, like they would want when I was really young, they would want to do occupational therapy with me, like trying to teach me how to function in a world that like it's not really not built for me.
Right.
And they one of the challenges was figuring out utensils that I could pick up,
Okay.
so that like I could eat, so I could feed myself,
Right.
without hurting myself.
Yeah.
And everything was too heavy, like everything, even those specially made ones, everything was just too wide and too heavy. And my grandmother was like, okay. So she took a plastic fork, she cut the end off, and she handed it to me. And then I could eat.
Right.
Like those kinds of things. She was excellent as far as, interior decorating. Her house looked like a museum. And I mean, that kind
Okay.
of thing, but
Yeah.
not artsy, you
Got.
know. Um, my mom enjoys playing with pottery sometimes, but it's not like, you know, it's not like she's an artist, you know.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
hear I had a great aunt that was an artist, but I don't know. But
Okay.
yeah.
So you were kind of just gifted with your artistic ability.
Yeah, I mean, I people ask me this a lot and I don't know. I mean, yes, I think you have to have some kind of inherent talent. Like,
Sure. Yeah.
but I also think that because I couldn't do anything else, I
Uh-huh.
just spent all my energy honing this skill,
Right.
and I mean, you can learn to do almost anything if
Sure.
you work hard enough, you
Yeah.
know. And I mean, I've worked really hard to learn this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They say if you put in 10,000 hours, then you can pretty much get something down
Yeah.
pat. And I,
Yeah.
I would assume that you're well over your 10,000.
I would think. I don't know. I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In school for you, did you have like kind of a core group of friends that
Hmm.
were help you out and looked
Yeah.
after you a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I have one friend that I'm still really close with,
Okay.
from like first grade. I mean,
All
we've
right.
been really close friends since first grade. We kind of fell out of each other's lives in high school because we went to different high schools.
Yeah.
And when you're a teenager, like if you're not seeing your friends in school every day, they're, you don't remember them, right? When
Right.
you're in school. But it turned out that we didn't go to the same college, but we went to colleges that were next door to each other, and
All
our
right.
food was better. So she would come over and eat at our college, and we kind of reconnected there. But
Nice.
anyway, yeah, so I'm still really good friends with her. And then when we were in school, there were probably, and I mean, it changed a little bit over the years, but there was a good three or four or five of us that were pretty close,
Okay.
And I still have another friend that I became really close with in sixth grade. We're not quite as close now because she moved away, and has three kids and is, in the Navy and very busy.
Gotcha.
But I mean, when we're together, it's still like, you know, nothing has changed, you know.
Right.
And it's cool because, when we were 10, 11, 12, I was smaller too than I am now. And so we started teaching them how to move me around. And
Okay.
so, like, by the time we were teenagers, it was fine for me to go with them to the mall or
Okay.
go spend the night at their house or go do whatever
Yeah.
because they thought it was cool that they could move me around, and
Yeah.
I thought it was cool because it gave me some independence,
For
you
sure.
know. So yeah. And of course there were adults around, it's not like, you know,
Yeah.
it's not like they just let us loose, but
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. If you don't mind, just for the creative community that may not fully understand what you've had to deal with, do you mind explaining what brittle bone disease is
Mhm.
just a little bit for them?
Yeah, so osteogenesis imperfecta is it's a collagen problem. So collagen, for those of you who are not crazy science people like I am, collagen is the stuff that makes up basically your entire body. So it's not just the stuff that gets injected into your lips, right? It is in your hair, it's in your muscle tissue, it's in your skin, it's in your bones. And so when there is a problem with your collagen, there's a problem kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
It can show up everywhere. And in OI, it shows up mostly in bone, but it can also be a problem in your ligaments. It can be a problem in your organ tissue. Uh, a lot of people with OI have heart problems. Some of them have stomach problems. I mean, it kind of depends. But basically, the biggest symptom is that you have very brittle bones, and there's a large spectrum of OI. So there's people at one end who may break 4 or 5 bones in their entire lifetime. They have some issues, but they can walk. They might be a little short, but otherwise they look relatively normal.
Yeah.
Um, then there's the other end where, you know, they have in utero, their bodies have not developed, their bones have not developed enough to allow their organs to develop and they die.
Okay.
So I mean, it's a really large spectrum. I'm like the type where it's the most severe, but you still live.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I actually we counted and I had broken 500 times by the time I was 10.
Oh my
Um
word.
yeah, and we stopped counting after that. Um and I mean it took nothing. Like it took like and still today, like I can sneeze in the wrong position and break a rib. And I
Oh
mean
my
I
word.
did that a couple months ago. Like it happens sometimes.
All right.
The weather affects it for sure. Um, how much I'm physically doing affects it.
Yeah.
Depending on what I'm doing, that affects it. It just, yeah, I mean, it's a complicated disease. Yeah.
Sure.
And it's pretty rare. So I looked up the numbers not that long ago, and I think right now they're saying that 40,000 in the United States have it, something like somewhere between 30 and 40,000. And the percentage that have my severity is
Hmm.
like 4% or something.
Oh
I
wow.
mean, we're
Okay.
talking like 400 people. I mean, we're
Yeah.
not talking a lot of people, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty rare.
The um the amount of time that you spent um, in the private school
Mhm,
versus transferring and going to a public school
mhm.
was it a strain in terms of navigating the cultures of the two worlds at the start?
Not really. Well, the only strain was that the public school is much bigger.
Yeah.
But in New Orleans at the time, there was really only one really good public school, and that
Okay.
was Ben Franklin High School. And pretty much that's where the smart kids go. Like that's just what it's known for. That's
Gotcha.
where the smart kids go. And we I think we had 18 in our eighth grade graduating class, and 11 of us went to Ben Franklin. So, I
Okay.
mean, I had a lot of friends that went to Ben Franklin,
Nice.
and the school was nice enough, at least in my freshman year, to put some of my friends in each of my classes where they could, so
Okay.
that at least, like, if something happened and my aide wasn't standing there or whatever, there was somebody else in the room that knew how to pick me up,
Right.
or knew how to move me around or knew how to handle something with me,
Yeah.
you
That's
know?
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it was a big jump, from like 200 kids to 700 kids. But um, Franklin was it was very demanding academically. And
All right.
so, I mean, literally, I just remember being there and working all the time. I mean, that's just, if you were going to Franklin, you were getting prepped for college. Like,
Okay.
that was just the way it was. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and you mentioned already that your mind was as good as it could be uh,
Yeah.
with the disability that you have. So was that something where you excelled a little bit more, or was it a little bit of a strain too?
No, no, I think so my mom loves the story. So when I was like a year old, like right at about a year, um, I told you my mom was trying to find things that I could do,
Yep.
right? So she would teach me about things. Do you remember Hooked on Phonics?
Yes.
Oh my God, I hated it. But she would make me do it, right? And
Okay.
she'd make me do these advanced hooked on phonics, even though I was really young,
Yeah.
because I was just, I didn't learn to walk and I didn't learn to crawl. And
Yeah.
so my brain was developing in other ways, right?
Okay.
I wasn't learning all those motor skills that most kids learn first, right?
Right.
So, so my dad had me in the car one day, and I looked at him. It had rained. It had just rained, and the storm was going away. And I looked at him and I said, "Dad, the storm is over and the clouds are dissipating." And I mean, I was like a year old,
Right.
and he like pulled over because I had just used a four-syllable word like in the correct context,
Yeah.
at a year old. And
Right.
he's like, "Where did you learn that?" I said, "Oh, mom taught me about clouds this week." And then I told him all the types of clouds, which I could not tell you now. But, then I proceeded to tell him all about storms. And so, those were the kinds of things I was learning really young,
Yeah.
that most people were not. So, yeah, I mean, even though my mom pretty much required me to be an A student,
Right.
I was an A student all the
Okay.
way through. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, your parents didn't necessarily try to uh, cater to your disability.
Oh, God, no.
They
No.
wanted to push you as far as they.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, my dad maybe. Like, I could get whatever I wanted out of my dad if
Okay.
I just pushed the right buttons.
He was
And
the
I knew
soft.
it. Oh, yeah, and I knew it. But my mom, oh my God, never. Never. No,
Okay.
she would never enable me. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. When it started getting close to the end time of high school,
Hmm.
um, did you have any art classes or teachers that were maybe in your ear saying, "Hey, there's you have the potential to go on and do this
Yeah,
at college"?
definitely. So I was very lucky in that my mom hired a private art teacher, who was a client of hers. She brought her dogs and cats to her. Um, and she taught at what do you call it? A community college here in New Orleans. And she taught painting and drawing. And she would teach me during high school. She would teach me at a college level on Saturdays privately. So I would go to work with mom. I would take
Yeah.
over one of her exam rooms, and I would, for 2 hours, work with this lady's name was Robin. I would work with Robin where she taught me a lot of things, but the biggest thing she taught me is really how to draw,
Okay.
because I lay down to
Yes.
work. And if you've ever tried to draw something laying down versus sitting up, even though you think you're seeing it the same way, you are not.
Right.
So,
Perspective.
yeah, perspective is totally different. And so she had to teach me how to compensate for that.
Okay.
Because, you know, if I drew something from life and it came out crooked, as a kid, it's like, okay, that's cute. It's a child's drawing. It came out crooked. But if I wanted to be a professional artist, if you paint something crooked, there needs to be a reason you did that, not
Right.
just that's how it came out. Like you
Yeah.
did it on purpose, right?
Right. Yep.
And so she would teach me, she would make me draw perfect circles without a compass. She would make me draw straight lines without a ruler. And I mean, for 2 hours on a Saturday, over and over and over. And I mean, there were days I hated it some days,
Okay.
but I mean, I learned a whole lot, and I actually started to be able to draw like really well.
Right.
Um, and so and of course, she taught me about value and composition and other things besides just perspective. But yeah, I mean, she definitely changed the way I thought about art.
Right.
And there's a good and a bad side to that, right? I mean, I became more professional,
Mm-hmm.
but I maybe enjoyed it a little bit less. It
Right.
was less of a hobby. It was
Yeah.
more of a job, you
Right.
know. And that's okay. I mean, it is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine that some of that frustration would come out as often as you're having to focus on something.
Yeah.
Even somebody who doesn't have a disability at a point gets tired of doing the same thing. Um,
Yeah.
so,
But I mean, you think about a kid that's in a sport in high school. I mean, what are they doing? They're doing the same thing over and over. It's
yeah,
just not
exactly.
drawing a circle, but
Right.
they're doing the same thing over and over,
Yeah.
you know?
Was was that instruction that she gave you? Was some of that insight into um, looking at college and the programs that were available? Did she help you make the decision to do graphic design over maybe fine art or
She
any
did
other?
not. She actually did not. I made that on my own.
Okay.
Um, I I probably asked her at some point, because Robin had a lot of she had a lot of issues, and by that point, we were not really working together
Okay.
at that point. But I'm sure I asked her opinion, and I'm sure she said, "Yeah, that's a good idea." Um, because yeah, I went through my freshman year as a fine art major, but
Okay.
in your freshman year, you're doing all your prereqs, and it's all the
Yes.
same for
Yes.
fine art and design. And so I got to the end of my freshman year, and I started thinking about it, and I was like, there is no way, like there is no way I'm going to be able to do this. And
Right.
so I said, yeah, I want to switch my major, and everybody supported that. So it ended up being a really good thing. It's interesting because it got me out of art for the whole time I was in college, because it
Okay.
was just design, 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 design. Like I was having to be creative every day in school. So
Right.
like by the time I got home, I don't want to
Yeah, I
paint.
didn't want to
I
do
don't
anything.
want to be creative. Like I don't. Yeah, I couldn't, because it was a demanding program. They say that design is one of the most demanding and the most expensive
Right.
because you're buying a computer and you're printing everything, and
Yeah.
which my parents absolutely loved. But you know it worked out. I mean, it worked out. Yeah.
Excellent. The uh, transition to college, was it maybe similar to the transition from the private school into high school, where you had some friends that came along with you as well?
Not really. I didn't have friends that went to the college I went to.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of an. I mean, I knew some of the staff at the college,
All right.
um, just from connections through my parents, and that was fine. But again, like I didn't live on campus because that would have been extremely complicated,
Right.
and very expensive also. And I mean, I lived 20 minutes away, so it that was just
Okay.
dumb,
Yeah.
And and I so I didn't and some of us I kind of wish I had more, but I really didn't take part in the college experience. I
Gotcha.
didn't go
Okay.
to parties and I didn't, I did things with my design class because
Yeah.
my design class was, 11 kids and we kind of went to hell and back with each other. Um,
Right.
so like, and there are some of us that are still like, we still get together and we still do stuff together.
Nice.
Um, but like, and we refer to each other all the time. Like, there's one guy there was out of the whole class, there was one guy. I feel kind of bad for him,
Oh wow.
um, but anyway, he's a master web designer, like
Okay.
master. And so I refer to him all the time and he refers to me, So
Gotcha.
yeah, yeah. So we trade clients and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean it it was kind of the same because I still went to school and I still came home, you
Right.
know, and I still worked really hard.
For sure.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
sure. I can imagine.
I mean, the first couple years were kind of a piece of cake
Uh huh.
because I had just come out of a school where I was in five AP classes at
Yeah.
one time. And, your prereqs are like nothing classes. Like
Right.
there were people failing these classes, and I'm like, how are you failing this class? Like it's two papers that are 1,000 words each. That's only like 2 pages, double spaced. I mean, this is not a big deal, guys. And so like the first couple years were not too bad, but once you got into those advanced design classes where you were asked to put out so much creative content,
Yeah.
that got that got hard. That got tough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did the way that you navigate with your disability, did that also cause you to start thinking differently about designing things
That's
and
a good
look at it from a
question.
different perspective?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, Not really.
Okay.
It probably should. Um, Not really. I mean, a lot of the design I do is print based, and
All
so
right.
like it's posters and flyers and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have designed some things for visually impaired and things like that.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I don't. The guy that I was telling you, who's a master web designer, he really got into that because
Okay.
he's got some disability stuff
Okay.
himself. Not quite, not like mine, but he's got some stuff himself, and he has recently really gotten into accessibility and design.
Okay. Gotcha.
And he's been doing a really good job with it. Um, but yeah, I don't, and I've kind of been helping him with some of it when he needs, when he has overflow of
Sure.
work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, not particularly. I mean, part of the reason I went into design is because it is something I can do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like
For
it's
sure.
already there as something I can do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Once you graduated, did you at that point already kind of have a working model for yourself to just kind of transition into doing it as a business, or did that take a while?
Um, kind of. I so both of my parents own their own businesses.
Yeah.
So I grew up with that. I mean, I grew up like, in the 90s when people actually paid with cash. I mean,
Right.
I grew up at 5 or 6 years old counting 20s behind the desk at my dad's office.
Okay.
Once you close the office on Saturdays, right? At the
Right.
end of the week. Like I grew up answering phones at mom's office and being around adults and talking to people and all those things. So it was not, there are people that are like, oh, I can't start my own business. Yeah, that was not me. Because I was
Right.
like, why not?
Yeah.
Like I've watched, both my parents do it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Um, so I knew I did get offers from design firms before I graduated. Most of us did.
Okay.
Um, but the accommodations that would have to be made for me and also just there are days where I wake up and I'm like, oh my god, I can't move. Like, and that's not great to call into work and say, oh my god. And this may be TMI, but like there are days where I'm like, yeah, I can't put on a bra today. Like, I mean, like there are things that like,
Yeah.
it affects what I wear, it affects how I move, it affects the positions I'm in. And I can deal with all that at home,
For
you
sure.
know. So I pretty much knew that I was going to start my own business and I was going to work from home. I pretty much knew that. I did not know what capacity design was going to play versus what one of my dogs is joining us.
That's
Sorry.
all right. Excellent.
Um, versus what capacity art was going to play.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know. And that still changes. I mean, that's still it's a constant balance. Like that is one of the things that I struggle with the most still today is like because design pays, right? I mean,
Yeah.
design pays the bills.
Yeah.
Art will eventually possibly pay the bills, but not until you make it and you frame it and you get it out there and you put all this money into it first, right?
Right. Right.
So it's a balance, of doing paid work versus doing the work I really want to do. Um
Yeah.
yeah, so no, I mean I knew it was going to be both. I just didn't know exactly how, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. And I still, like, literally, like I said, still today, it changes week to
Right.
week.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. And that's understandable. That's very understandable.
Yeah.
The the amount of time that you've been doing uh, design and art on your own. Um, we mentioned in the intro that you're also doing speaking.
Hmm.
Has your art provided the opportunity to speak, or has the disability provided that opportunity?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Both. Yeah. Because, I went through a time when I was, I don't know, in college and maybe right after, and as a teenager, where I wanted my art to speak for itself, and I didn't want anybody to know that like it was done by somebody who was disabled because I didn't want people to do the
Sure.
pity type
Yeah.
thing.
Yes.
And I have a really good friend who's much older than I am, but I mean, I swear we're like the same, cut from the same cloth. But anyway, um, but she looked at me one day and she's like, Catherine, like, you got to use what you got, like, use it. You have it.
Right.
There's got to be something good that comes out of it, right? And so I learned that um art is a part of me, but so is my disability. And
Yeah.
so when I do public speaking, I get the gigs for different reasons. Like
Sure.
there have been gigs I get because I'm an artist, and there have been gigs I get because I'm disabled, but in the speech they both come into play, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
With doing the art, has it crossed your mind at all to um, potentially hire an assistant or additional people to work with you?
It has.
Okay.
I'm a very controlling person.
All right.
Um, it has, and there are parts of painting, well, really the drawing stage. I mean, there are parts that I do relinquish to someone else.
Okay.
Um, it's not a lot. It's it's like basic outline. Like it
Gotcha.
is not a lot. Um, because I find that sometimes, and a lot of artists do this with a projector. I don't have a projector, but it's the same idea. Like I
Yes.
find that sometimes it's very hard. Like if I'm working from a photo and I want to put it, like let's say I have a photo that I've cropped to 8 by 10 and I need to draw that animal onto an 8 by 10, but I need it to fit in the right proportions.
Yep.
Sometimes it's very hard to do that just looking at it,
Okay.
just freehanding it, where like you get to the end and you're like, oh no, I can't fit its other eyeball, or whatever. And
Yeah.
so, and so the way to fix that is to use a projector and trace an outline and then go from there. So
Right.
that step is what I usually have help with.
Got it.
Not that I can't do it myself. I can do it myself. It just takes a whole lot less time if somebody does it for me, you know?
Absolutely.
Um, and and when I say a basic outline, I mean like super basic. I usually go back in after the outline's in and add a lot of lines before I even put paint on it. You
For
know.
sure. Yeah.
Um so yeah, so that I have some help with. Um Design wise, I don't probably have enough clients to farm out design stuff, but I have in the past. I
Yeah.
mean, if I can find somebody. I do relatively recently, like within the last couple years, I have hired social media people to help me with
Okay.
my social media,
Yeah.
because it is very hard to do that for yourself.
Right.
Like I don't, like my social media people will say like, "Oh, it's so interesting to hear how your day works," and I'm like, "No, it's not. Not to me, but
Right.
to other people it is." And so to get that objective perspective is really really helpful.
Yeah.
So I do that. um and again, like that is something I could do myself, but there
Hmm.
are just not enough hours in the day. I
Right.
mean, my brain can only be creative in so many ways for so many hours,
For
you
sure.
know? Yeah.
Totally
So,
understand.
yeah. But yeah, I don't, the thing with my painting is, I mean, the reason people buy them is because they're mine,
Mm.
so that's not something I'm going to farm out to somebody,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, where I was going with that question kind of was in the direction of maybe hiring an assistant that would help um, get your paintings framed or
Oh,
more.
yeah. Yeah. So I have aides that help me with physical things like bathing
Okay,
and eating and going to the bathroom and all those things. But they
gotcha.
also help with my business. Like my aide right now is in the back doing inventory
Okay,
because everything's out of control right now in the back. So
gotcha.
she's figuring out what's there and what's not.
Okay,
Um, and then the other one does a lot of my drawing stuff for me,
right,
and among other things. And the one in the back does all kinds of things besides inventory.
right.
So yeah, I mean, I definitely have people that, when I hire somebody as my aide or assistant, they have kind of a double job, you know,
Right.
because
Right. Yes.
because when I'm sitting here painting or doing an interview like this, I don't need them sitting right here.
Right.
They can be doing something else.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and two, I think that's a testament to the creative community as well. Um, Number one, your ability to allow some of that to be
Mhm.
out of your hands, kind of, even though you said you really would like to have it in your hands.
I mean, in a perfect world, yes. But
Right. But the thought process too of not allowing certain things to hold you back from
yeah.
doing stuff.
I mean, like I've watched my parents hire people. And my parents probably less so than me. I mean, because they've gotten screwed by people, and they didn't necessarily want to hire people outside of their little circle. But like
Yeah.
my thing is, like, for example, I have a bookkeeper.
Okay.
I am terrible at math, and I am terrible at keeping books. Okay, like the only C I ever got in my entire school career was in math.
Okay.
Okay, and it was
Yeah.
one semester, and it was terrible. I thought I was gonna die, but um, but like I don't want to do that. But this lady loves it, and she's good at it, and
Right.
it's worth it to me to pay her to take less time to do it than it would take me. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Like, because my time is worth more than that,
Yeah.
you know, in different ways, right? And so I think that, like, another example is, I wouldn't. We have some investments in the stock market. I know
Oh,
nothing about the stock market. I rely on my financial advisor for that. I don't question. I mean, occasionally I question, right? But like, I don't call him every day and say, "Why did you make this trade?" Like, I
right.
don't know, but I assume that with the education he has, he knows, right?
Yes.
So it's the same thing. I had a situation with a client not long ago where they know nothing about design, and
Okay.
they were new in the company, and they tried to tell me how to do my job, and I had been there much longer than them, and I mean, I ended up parting ways with them because
Yeah.
she thought she could do my job better, which she
Right.
can't. I mean, if you look at their numbers, they're way down, but that's not my problem anymore.
Right.
But like that's the kind I don't want to do that to somebody. Like
Yeah.
if you're an expert in your field, great. Go with you do it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With your choice of doing uh, pet portraits,
Mhm.
was that something that came about from the pets that you have, as well as helping others, or did you see that as an opportunity to kind of um, give something to somebody else that would be very memorable for them?
Um I would say an opportunity, but at first, it was an opportunity for me to make money as a
Okay.
kid.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, at the very basic level, that was at first. But I, when I was growing up, I didn't know what I was going to do
Okay.
exactly. Like I really loved marine life. There was a point where I really wanted to be a marine biologist, but it's like how would that work? You know
Right.
what I mean? Like I don't know how that would work. And so art kind of gave me a way to be involved in the community and give something back and also make a career,
Yeah.
at the same time. So yeah, I mean it's I said earlier, yeah, it I got good at it and it became a job. It's not as fun anymore, but that's okay. So now it's less of a hobby, more of a job. But
Right.
it's
Right.
not a job I hate. So that's good.
Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure.
Yeah.
That is a good thing. That's a good
Yeah.
thing for anybody, honestly.
Yeah.
If you have a
Yeah.
job you love, it's
Yeah.
or don't hate it at the very least.
Yeah. I mean, there are days where I don't love it.
Yeah.
But, there are days where, there's not usually a day where I hate it. The days I hate it are the days like dealing with that lady.
Yeah.
That's the days I hate it.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
but yeah, other than that, no.
Nice. How is living in the South for you in terms of culture, acceptance, things like that in the community?
Hot. It is hot as hell down here right now. Um it's good. I mean, it's you know, Southern people are very friendly in general. So we vacationed in New York, and it is a very different
Yeah.
community up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I was scared to cross the street in New York for fear of getting hit by a car.
Mhm.
Um, So like it that doesn't I mean, I'm sure it happens, but people stop for people down here
Right.
mostly, right? And so in that way it's great. In other ways, our streets are crap. Our entire system is, you know, not as up to date as it should be.
Right.
Accessibility is marginal at best. And that is frustrating,
Yeah.
because I can go somewhere like Las Vegas or even New York, and accessibility, like the entire bus system in New York is wheelchair accessible. It's
Right.
amazing. Like that is amazing that
Yeah.
that is the case. I mean, I could get around all of Manhattan like on buses.
Right.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
That does not happen down here. That does not happen down here. I
Right.
didn't have to worry about holes in the sidewalk in New York.
Yep.
That's a major problem down here. Um, so it's good and bad. I love the people here for the most
Yeah.
part. But yeah,
Yeah. I kind of have a little bit of that perspective as well.
yeah,
I'm here in Detroit, but all of my family's from East Tennessee.
okay,
So I was raised, going on vacations down
yeah.
south,
I love
holidays
Tennessee.
down south.
Yeah,
So I understand what that culture is like and how hot it can be as well at
oh,
certain
yeah,
times. Although
yeah,
right now here in Detroit, it's just as hot as down there.
yeah.
So
But y'all don't have the wet hot that we
no,
have.
yes,
It is
correct,
like you walk outside and you're immediately sweating.
right,
Yeah, it's very hot down here right now.
yeah,
Um, yeah, but like I love Tennessee. I've always said if I did not live in New Orleans, I would live in Nashville for sure,
nice,
hands
nice.
down, no question. Yeah,
Does your advocacy for accessibility, does your design perspective play into a lot of that? And are you looking to do more um, work towards furthering accessibility in your area?
yeah. I mean, I'm always a proponent for it. I think that it would be. Um, I think that there are some things that would be easy to change. Like, for example, signage.
Yeah.
We're really bad at that in New Orleans in
Okay.
general. Like even just street signs, we're really
Right.
bad at having street signs in New Orleans. Um, so having signage that says where wheelchair access is, that kind of thing. Very simple, not expensive. You
Right.
know, um, that kind of thing could be very helpful. Um, if any of the listeners have been to Bourbon Street, one of my not that we go basically ever. I mean, I was down there for a bachelorette party several years ago, and because it's a historic district, they are grandfathered in to
Right.
not having to have accessible, right, accessible bathrooms and any kind of accessibility, really.
Yes.
And so a lot of them have a step up into the
Mm,
bar or into the shop or whatever. And what's frustrating about that, and they say, oh, well, we can't put a permanent ramp out there because, the city doesn't allow it because of historical, blah, 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 blah. Okay. But you can get a 2 foot folding ramp on Amazon for like $120. And
nice.
it's really cheap. And if you have a bar on Bourbon Street, I am pretty sure that you can afford it,
Right.
and you put it down when you need it and you pick it up when you don't. It's very simple.
Yeah.
But nobody thinks to do that,
Right.
and I see it more and more. Like I hired a new aide about 6 months ago, and she and I were out recently, and she was and this happens all the time with new people with me. It was one of her first times out with me where she had to park,
Okay.
and all of the handicap spots were taken, and they weren't necessarily handicapped people.
Right.
They didn't necessarily have the tag or the license plate, and she got really mad. And I'm like, yeah, I bet you didn't even think twice about this before you started working with me. She's like, no, I didn't, because she
Right.
doesn't have to live it, you know? And
Yep.
so until like you're the person that can't get up that step, nobody's going to think twice about that, you know?
Yeah.
One of the things that I am constantly trying to advocate for is I love live music. I love live music like that.
Okay.
Art is no longer my hobby. Live music is. That's one of my favorite things is concerts. And
Nice.
I, yeah, it is nice, but wheelchair seating is almost always in the back
Right.
and or up high,
Yep.
and then people stand. And do you think I can stand? Nope.
Yeah.
And so, like, what sense does that make? And
It
all
does.
it doesn't. And like, also, I deserve to be able, like, if I can physically get there, I deserve to be able to spend the money to be in the front row.
Right.
Like, if I want to spend $1,000 or whatever it is to be in the front row, I should be allowed to do that.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, I think that's a great point for the creative, especially for the musician community that
Hmm.
may be listening. Right. Um, for a period of time, I worked in the concert and club venues, doing security and different things like that, and then eventually would help put on shows and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
When I was doing the security stuff, we were always kind of encountering that scenario at
Hmm.
different times where we'd have a handicapped individual that would come to the venue and we'd have to, make sure that they got to where they would go. And a lot of times you're absolutely right. It's usually in a back space that's
Hmm.
really far away from the stage, or it's high up where it's not
Hmm.
necessarily a great place to be able to view everything.
Right.
And one of the things that we had the ability to do, fortunately, is we could kind of put people where we wanted to put them at the venues
Hmm.
rather than having to just exclude them to a particular space that was just dedicated for that. But I know from that perspective that it's not thought about from the artist's perspective or
No.
conveying that to the venue either. Um,
No. And I mean, look, I don't necessarily I don't blame the artist, right? Because I have seen what it takes to put on a concert. You
yeah,
know, I have been backstage. I have been very lucky in that I've gotten to meet a whole lot of famous people and a whole lot of artists, and
yeah,
like I understand that they are focused on putting on a good show. Like
right,
they are just trying to get through their job, you know, in that moment. And so they can't worry about the one person in 8,000 people that can't see because of a wheelchair. You know, like I get that.
yeah,
But it would be nice if a few famous people actually said, "Hey, venues, you know, you really need to fix this." You
right,
know, um, it's I I am actually in a fight with a venue right now about them not allowing me into a pit, you know,
okay,
onto a floor because they first of all they've allowed me in there before, and there was a new head of security and she just was not allowing it. But that aside, from what and I'm working with a lawyer on this a little bit, but like from what I understand, ADA law basically says if the wheelchair can safely get to the place and the person in the wheelchair says yes and they have a ticket for that space, then you
yeah,
have to let them be there. You
right,
know, like you have to provide an equal, you know, an equal viewing area, like with view and price, right? I
yeah,
mean, you have to. And this place did not. Like I
oh,
had the ticket and they kicked me out of it and put me way back behind the people on the floor, which of course I couldn't see at all because the
yeah,
whole floor was standing up and I was backing off to the side. You know, I mean, I left. I was so angry and it's a whole thing. But anyway, that kind of stuff happens all the time. You
yes,
know, and there are, I will, let me it happens a lot. There are venues that will bend over backwards for people too.
Yeah.
There are venues that do it absolutely right all the time. But there's not a lot of them. You know,
Right.
so yeah, it is very frustrating. It is
Yeah.
very frustrating.
I can imagine. I can
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah.
With one of the things that I'm finding fascinating about our conversation is the capacity you have mentally to do the things that you want to do. And from what I'm hearing, you don't have a whole lot of fear in attempting to do it.
Not usually.
Is is that just out of sheer uh, desire to be curious, or is it just because you you want to keep your mind focused on the positive things that you can do versus looking at the negatives that could come into play?
Um, kind of both.
Okay.
Kind of both. I mean, that's how I was raised. Like
Right.
always, my mom was like, "Okay, yeah, you can't go play soccer, but you can, make this pretty painting." I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
But so I mean, um, that's always been my life. That's always been, yeah, you can't do this, but and maybe mine's a little more extreme, but like not everybody can paint like I can paint.
Right. No.
Like it's not like, you know, because you can walk, you can do more. You just do different. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I look at some able-bodied people I know, and I make more money than they make.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, and that's just, and that's just because I am constantly working. Like
Right.
I'm constantly doing things like this. I'm doing podcasts. I'm going to talk to schools. I'm um, doing craft fairs. I'm doing my own shows. I'm planning for the next year. That kind of stuff.
Right.
Um, because I get bored really quickly. So, um, it's that is another way that design has been good for me is because, when I say, oh my God, I can't do another painting, let me go work on a client's work for a little
Right.
while. At least I'm still doing something constructive.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not the same thing over
Yeah.
and over. And
Yep.
so that has worked really well for me. I'm actually the other day I just started putting together a new product that is going to be available maybe for adults, but we're going to target kids first. And it's like
Okay.
a paint like Catherine kit, and it comes with a traced picture of one of my paintings and
Right.
on watercolor paper with the watercolors they need, and they can paint. It's kind of like paint by numbers, but without the numbers. But
Right.
it's my stuff. It's
Yeah.
my work, and so um, it's going to be kind of cool because when I go to schools and when, I'm around kids and they say, I want to paint like you. Well, this is something their parents can buy them that will let
Yeah.
them paint like me. So
Yeah.
it fills that need and it makes me some money. So it's all good.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm
That's
constantly trying to come up with new things like that. And my aides who are around me, one of them in particular, comes up with ideas like that all the time.
oh
And
cool.
sometimes they work and sometimes they don't,
Right.
and that's fine.
Yeah. That's amazing. That you're thinking like that as well. Um, and you're absolutely right. Not everybody who can paint paints like you. And
Hmm.
because I was looking at some of your stuff over the last few days, getting ready for this conversation, and you are amazing.
Thank you.
And we're going to make sure that all that information and links are in the description for the audience, um, because I want them to see that you have gone beyond your disability, and what you're creating is truly phenomenal, from my perspective, because it shows that there is a true gift there that has been cultivated, and has been nurtured early on from your
Mm.
parents, encouraging that. But you've also stuck with it yourself, in terms of realizing, hey, this is one thing that I can do, and I'm good at it, and so I'm just going to continue doing this.
Hmm.
So that's amazing to me. If there is anything that you would say to creatives out there who may just be struggling, um, and looking at their career, but from a resiliency standpoint, what would be some advice that you would have for them?
Really, just keep trying different things. I mean, just keep, my dad used to say, keep throwing the spaghetti up against the wall and eventually something's going to stick.
Yeah.
Like I, for everything, for every one thing that works, there's five or six things that did not,
Right.
and sometimes that's a loss of money and sometimes it's not, you know. But if you don't try stuff, you're never going to know, like this paint, like Catherine thing, like that may not work. I
Yeah.
have no idea. I thought for sure I started doing these memorial boxes for pet portraits. Like if
Okay.
your pet dies and you can get this box and you can put the ashes in it or the collar or favorite
Right.
toy or whatever
Yeah.
you want to put in it. I thought for sure that was going to sell. I have not sold a single one yet. Okay, so like you don't know. You
Oh,
just
wow.
never know. And I don't know if that's a marketing fail on my part or if it's just not something people want. I mean, I don't know. Um, you just never know what's going to catch on,
Right.
And I've also found that when stuff dries up, like when I don't have a lot of client work and I am through with my shows for the year, or it's just not the time of year for shows because it's not the holiday season.
Right.
Um, if I start a project, it never fails. If I say, okay, I had been wanting to do this project for years, right? I did this beginning of this year. I said, I am going to start this project that I have had turning over in my head for
Yeah.
years, right?
Yeah.
I get through like two paintings and all of a sudden I have more work than I can handle. It has nothing to do with that project. So now that project is now sitting on my desk with only two paintings, and
Yeah.
it's been sitting there for like 4 months
Oh,
because
wow.
I don't have time to go back to it right now. You
Right.
know, so my thing is, if long, I think for creative people, as long as you are creating something every day,
Yeah.
you're finding a way to add to your, whether it's a business or your hobby or whatever, you're finding a way to add to it. And it doesn't have to be like you paint every day. It can be like, ooh, I wonder if I could make, these paint like Catherine things. Like, okay, let me look up how much this many sheets of watercolor paper are going to cost. And let me see what it would cost me to put that together and then see
Right.
if it's even worth doing.
Yeah.
Like even if it's just something like that, you're making progress, you know.
Right.
It's
Right.
better than sitting still, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's great advice. For your watercolor stuff, are you looking at just paper to create those on, or
I
are you
do.
looking at
Yeah.
Bristol board at all?
I don't love Bristol board.
Okay.
I it's okay. I personally, when I do this, I mean, these kits are going to be for children, right? So this is not
Yes.
going to be high quality, it'll be okay, but it
Sure.
won't be like what I use, right?
Gotcha.
Um, I use watercolor blocks. So
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with that. Okay, yeah. So I like them because, the paper doesn't curl and they are ridiculously expensive right now though. I don't know why at the moment all of a sudden the price has just like skyrocketed. But
Right.
yeah, so I use a lot of watercolor blocks. I've used Bristol board. I've used that stuff. It's new stuff that you can paint onto a surface, and it's supposed to make it like a piece of watercolor paper. Like you can
Okay.
paint it onto metal or board or whatever. I painted it onto some wood for a project. It kind of worked. I don't love it. It
Right.
it's workable, but it's not my favorite thing. You know,
Yeah.
I still have it. Like the painting turned out okay, but it just doesn't behave the same way as paper behaves. You know,
Gotcha.
I'm one of those people, like, I would love to have time to experiment. I would love to have time to do different things. But right now, I am everything I'm doing, I'm trying to at least not lose money doing
Right.
it, you know? So, like, um, right now, I don't have time. Like, I bought a watercolor block, but it's black watercolor paper. Well, I haven't had time to play with it yet. I
Right.
mean, I haven't gotten to do that yet. Um, so I have some things in line. What I need is what every artist needs, and I need a sponsor that says, I will pay all of your bills for the next 3 months if you just want to create whatever you want. But I've not found somebody like that yet. So, you
Well,
know,
listen,
until that happens.
right. I get it. I get it. And hopefully, there's some people out there that may listen to this,
Yeah.
um, that may, slide into your email or your DMs and
Yeah.
shoot you a message.
That would be lovely.
Um,
Yeah.
I do have somebody in mind that I know that I might be able to put you in contact with, that you might be able to have that kind of discussion.
Oh, God, that would be amazing.
Right?
That would
Yeah.
be amazing. I mean, to be able to just like paint what I want for, 3 months and like actually focus on the things I want to do, would be like, I have not gotten to do that in a very long time, you
Yeah.
know. And I think too, like, I like what I do. Okay. Like, I like my paintings. I look at them and I'm like, of course, there's some I like more than others, but I look at them and I'm like, yeah, that turned out good. Like, that's a nice painting. But sometimes, and I'm sure every artist listening can relate to this, you feel like you plateaued.
Right.
Like, okay, I do this style and I do it well, but I mean, is that it? Like, is that my end? You
Yeah.
know, is there
Yeah.
something else I can do? Like, I have wanted forever to learn how to do enameling.
Okay.
I don't have time to do enamel. I don't, I really want to go take a figure drawing class again, just because, I mean, I haven't taken one since college.
Right.
And it's very different than what I do on a day-to-day basis,
Sure.
you know? Um, so yeah, it's just, you know, everybody
Time
has
and
the
money.
struggle. Yeah, everybody. I mean, no matter what job you're in, everybody has the struggle of like doing the things you want to do versus doing the things that pay your bills. You know?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Other than the potential of doing the figure drawing, is there anything that you've got on the horizon where you really, really want to step into it?
I am, and I haven't really announced this yet, but I'll kind of briefly skim
Okay.
over it. I am partnering with a lovely man who is, he's a news anchor here in New Orleans, but
All right.
he's also, well, I guess technically now he's kind of a reporter. But he has a special spotlight show that he
Gotcha.
does on the news here. And and it's broadcasted kind of all over South Louisiana. Um, he uh, is also a photographer and he
Okay.
does a lot of nature photography. He did a spotlight on me at the beginning of the year, which this man is so talented because I was so sick when we recorded. Like, mom and I had both had like flu A or something, and both just felt like crap. But we're not
Oh,
contagious anymore. We just like we're still
yeah.
coughing our lungs out every 5 minutes, and
Yeah.
I had like two broken ribs, and I mean I felt like crap, and he made me look great on this thing. So I was like, okay, yeah,
Nice.
that's talent. But anyway, but I had commented on one of his pictures not long ago and said it was a spoonbill, which is like a pink bird down here.
Okay. Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, that's a great picture. Can I use it as a reference photo? Because I'm always looking for reference photos."
Sure.
And he said, "Oh yeah, sure." So we started talking, and I don't remember exactly how it came up, but I was like, it would be really cool to partner and do a show where I paint your photos and we do
Nice.
it in tandem,
Yeah.
where you sell your photos, I sell my paintings, and, it'd be really cool. So that has turned into a total of 4 shows already next
Oh,
year
wow.
that are already scheduled. So
Nice.
it's we haven't announced anything really about it yet. But I want to do a good job with this series. Like I want because it's Louisiana wildlife. It's just something that's very marketable down here,
Right.
but also very much appreciated down
Yeah.
here. So I want to do a really good job with that. I want he. It's funny because he is, I don't know how, in his late 60s, I think. I don't really know, but he's
Yeah.
never done a professional show like this. Like
Oh,
as many news stories and photos as he's taken, he's never done a professional like artist show. So it's very weird for him in his 60s to be leaning on me in my 30s and being like, Catherine, how do we do this? Because
right.
I've been doing these shows for forever,
Yeah.
you know? So yeah, it's an interesting experience, but I think he's gonna bring a great crowd because everybody down here knows him.
Right.
And I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. So I really want to do a good job with this series.
Yeah.
So
That
yes,
sounds amazing.
yeah, that's one. The project I started at the beginning of the year that I would love to get back to is okay, so when I was like, I don't know, 13 or 14, I
Uh,
worked with a different, hello, Porch. I worked with a different artist who was very creative and fun. And we did this project where we made dogs artists. Like
okay.
we painted dogs as artists. So we did like Frida Kahlo and Pablo Picasso,
Yeah.
and like those kinds of things.
Right.
So I've always wanted to revisit that in my style now and like
Okay.
a little more intentional, because
Yeah.
when I did it last time, I was a teenager and, it was just
Right.
kind of for fun, right? So I got 2 done at the beginning of the year. But it's cool because I'm like the backgrounds on the paintings are really heavily based on the artist, right?
Yes.
So like the Picasso one is very geometric and it's kind of a nod to one of his paintings. And but like
Sure.
instead of a face there's a bone, or instead of a whatever, I worked a collar in there or whatever.
Yeah.
And the dog um is an Hound, which is like a very angular Spanish dog. So
Right.
like I'm trying to be very intentional about what I choose. So like Monet, which is Bonet.
Okay.
Bonet is a Bichon Frise, and the background is the bridge with the garden and the lily pads, right?
Right.
And so I've got all these ideas for them, and I think they would do really well. I just have to have time to do them. You
Yeah.
know, I have like 3 more drawn out that I have not touched. You
Right.
know, but the Bona Lisa is going to be hilarious. Like
Nice.
that one, I can't wait to do that one. But yeah,
Yeah. That
yeah.
sounds like it'd be
Oh,
fantastic.
it's going to be hysterical. But like I said, I haven't had time to go back to them.
Right.
But eventually, and when I do them, I don't want to hurry up and do them. I want to do them well. You know,
Yeah. For sure.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah,
Well, excellent. That's fantastic, Catherine. I truly appreciate you coming on today.
yeah. This has been
Want to
fun.
want to be a little bit respectful of your time as well, but I do thank you for sharing your story with the audience because it's such a tremendous story of resilience and creativity and having the mindset to just think differently based on the circumstances that you're given. And I think that's
Yeah,
great. One
yeah.
of the things that I always like to remind the audience of at the end of each episode is just to listen to your heart, but also be kind to your mind.
Mm-hmm.